Having said that, let's keep going south. We're gonna look at Izum bridgehead, then we're gonna look at Liman bridgehead, and this is all part of one big Donbass salient. And then we're gonna look at Severodonetsk salient. So let's start with Izum. This is schematic map. There is no progress, not totally like active attacks, just artillery shelling, kind of like reconnaissance fighting and all of that. So does feel more and more to us that there is no resources on the Russian side to continue attacking here the way they did. So again, the front line here is stable, being stable for quite a while, with the exception when this village Dovhenke was captured about a week or maybe 10 days ago. But that was the really last meaningful gain for the Russian side here. Ever since, they pretty much, it's a stalemate. There's no progress. Then let's look at the Liman bridgehead here, and this one, it's being split as we discussed. Now it's split into two pieces. One is around Svetohirsk, small town here. And again, there are no changes here. Ukrainian side more or less holds the line here. And then there is a bigger one centered around town Liman. That's why we call it Liman bridgehead, because it was used to be one piece and now it's two pieces. So here again, the same situation. The Russian side does not even, it's totally probably clear to the Russian side that they can cut off supply routes and just retreat routes here in this area, because this is a major road. But it's very clear they don't have resources to do that. So again, in the front line, more or less stable here as well. So let's continue going. Let's look at what's going on around Severodonetsk and Popasna, because that was the most dangerous area for Ukrainian army over past probably couple weeks, and where the things were really on the edge, and probably somewhat still are. But let's look actually. So the northern part has been stable since about May 8 or 10, when Russian army tried to establish several bridgeheads and suffered heavy losses near Bilogorivka. So this side is more or less stable at this point. And as you can see, Ukrainian army brought in a lot of various units. So most notably is 58th Brigade, and obviously it helped to stabilize situation here. Then some battalions from the 30th Brigade, and something from some probably battalions from the 80th Brigade, right? We discussed this, that it's brought in from the Kherson bridgehead, and part of it is up north near Kharkiv, part of it is here. Again, we think it's a bad practice overall. Then what's going on here in Severodonetsk is that we mentioned that Ukrainian army lost the bridge here, where it says here Pavlograd. This was the main bridge in general that connects Severodonetsk to Lysychansk. So that's been lost, and essentially there is no real meaningful bridge, but Ukrainian troops are being resupplied there. And it's in, map probably is not terribly sort of informative, because there are obviously units of the 57th Brigade, because that's kind of like a major backbone that's holding front line in this whole area, right? And then there are battalions from the 115th Ukrainian Militia Brigade, right? They were brought in because the situation was kind of difficult here. They don't have obviously much experience, and they suffered some losses. There were a lot of problems with this unit here. Then we also hearing that there are some battalions from 4th National Guards Brigade. This is something new, and we don't know much about it, but there are some battalions. Again, it's probably brought in to support the defense of Severodonetsk and to be able to keep it. So far, again, there are no essential changes here. Ukrainian front line still holds here, despite the, as we discussed, much more difficult logistical situation here. Then let's look at the Popasna area, where there was clear success for the Russian troops for a while. For the past 2 days, there's no successes, no advances, basically, right? That's how we measure successes, are advances. And the first thing that we mentioned yesterday is it's very clear that the density of troops has decreased here meaningfully, and like really meaningfully. And so they lost their uh, sort of their thrust, their ability to punch through Ukrainian defenses, right? There's no question that 24th Brigade is pretty beaten down. That's for sure. We also think there are some other units from these brigades here as well. We just don't have information on that. But for now, Russian side is clearly lacking resources to continue to exploit their initial gains. And we've been watching this for past 2 days, which really tells us that okay, they might have been kind of like totally out of the fuel to continue attacks overall, just generally on this front line, or they might receive something eventually. We don't know. But for now, it's very clear there is a pause here. And it remains to be seen whether this is that's it kind of moment, the last hurrah for the Russian side, or they will somehow manage to pull another card from their pocket and throw it here. But so far, it looks like this is the only place where they can potentially gain, like have any successes here. And again, as the time passes by, obviously Ukrainian side is probably bringing in more troops here and trying to patch this up. So the chances, as the time passes by, of chances of Russian success here are also going down, right? And so the more time passes by, the more reinforcements they need to bring here. And as we discussed many times, at this point, ability to bring in reinforcements for Russian side are very extremely limited and potentially not available at this moment. We're not saying that Russian army is defeated or anything, just because there will be a lot of, comments and Russian trolls and all that, those commenting that Ukrainian army is defeated. Russian army is not defeated. Ukrainian army is not defeated. This is just dynamic situation. We're explaining how dynamics of this situation works, right? If Russia does, mobilization inside, there's obviously more, more soldiers to be recruited there than Ukraine can muster. There's no question about that. But for now, the situation has stabilized apparently. But we'll see in the next couple of days. Could be wrong as well. This is we showed it yesterday. This is a approximate situation of the Russian sort of like most, like, so where they reached the most, because we show this because this is where the sort of thrust of the attack, because if they continue either go north or they can turn this direction, and they can encircle either this group of Ukrainian group or the larger one here, right? So this kind of creates, they have the choice of opportunities for Russia, and so this is the most kind of dangerous situation. While this one is kind of like, okay, looks scary in terms of, okay, Ukraine can lose this town of Soledar, but in the end, it's kind of like the Russian side just does not have enough troops to kind of successfully kind of exploit and go all the way here. So the realistic pass and the most realistic is kind of turn here and encircle, at least kind of like chew at least a little bit, right? As opposed to trying to really go for the big goal. And so in our opinion, that's why we're showing this map, because that's where this opportunity lies for them. And this is where the most northern sort of where the most northern territories that Russian side captured. So as you can see, they're essentially, with exception of this village Vasilievka, their front line more or less goes along the railroad here, basically. So our understanding is that Ukrainian side uses railroad as a defensive position, which is good idea, because it provides cover from artillery fire. Because if you kind of create like a holes on the other side, it's almost it's essentially impossible to get those with artillery fire, and it will be extremely difficult with even mortar fire. So in the front line here near Kamyshawaha, as we discussed, goes somewhere like somewhere around this forest, somewhere here, basically. And there are no changes here again. So now this is a little bit like we kind of look a little bit also to the south of Popasna, where Russian side gained Troitsky, we discussed yesterday or day before yesterday, and then they tried to capture Vozdvizhenka and they don't have success. So again, even here the front line stabilized as well. So now we're not gonna look at this section of the front line because there is no active attacks, just artillery shelling there, mortar fire and all that stuff. So we're gonna look straight west of Donetsk, where the Russian side is really just trying to squeeze out Ukrainian army from the whole kind of like Donetsk region and push it as far as possible from the Donetsk, from the city of Donetsk, because this is the capital, so-called capital of DNR, right? So they're trying to push Ukrainian army as far as possible here. So they had initial success here around Novobakhmutivka, which they captured, but so far they have not any successes. At the same time, they have not really tried. We mentioned this about a day or two before, that there was a large Russian unit, and we think maybe mechanized brigade, that was coming from basically east, that was spotted here, that we think that will be used to kind of try to continue attacks here. There were no attacks by that unit today. So we'll see. It remains to be seen where it's going to be used. Maybe, Russian side decides to use it, pull it to Popasna, try to, maybe it's a last card, and they try to use it near Popasna. So we'll see what happens here. But situation here is stable. And just local attacks as always around Marinka, Novomykhailivka, but beyond that, there's not much, really nothing to report here in this area. This is just a kind of like closer look at the whole area. This is this salient around Novobakhmutivka that the Russian side managed to capture, but situation so far, again, as we said, stable. So now let's actually go down, look at Zaporizhia front line, and we're gonna look mostly at the eastern section of that. So as we always say here, right now situation stable, both sides kind of in balance. Ukrainian side brought in 128th Brigade, Azov Kiev Regiment, and that really stabilized the front line here. So there's no changes, just artillery shelling, and that's pretty much it, what's going on here. And this is just a larger look at the whole Zaporizhia front line. So as you can see, that's the only this wedge that Russian army managed to kind of create here. That's what we were talking about. So let's continue. Let's finish it with Kherson bridgehead. So let's have a closer look here. As you can see now, now it makes sense why the 63rd Brigade is here. Apparently that was replacement for the 80th Brigade that was pulled, and maybe even 14th. But apparently Ukrainian army thinks that this is enough troops to kind of balance the Russian side here. And as we discussed before, Russian side is definitely digging in this area overall. Okay, thanks for watching. That's it for today, and until tomorrow. Bye-bye.